courage ring through the land. High his shield, raise your glass. I swear by George, here he stands. All his love, what is good, what is right. Do not go gentle into that good night. You stood by me, so here I am. I swear by George, here he stands.
Years ago, I think it was 2008, I got invited to play at the St George's Day celebration at Cecil Sharp House. It was an F route stroke. I think Sam Lee was putting it on, and in the process of getting myself ready for that, I had this great idea for a song, what I thought was a great idea, which ended up being called By George, which kind of lends itself to St George, if you like. But it's actually a song about my late friend Simon George Eckert, so it's a tribute to him really. It's a song about courage, and it's actually not finished. It's in its. I probably will rework it and make the lyrics a bit more. It's just at the time the wounds of losing a close friend were still very fresh, so I sort of knocked it out, as it were, and put it out there. And also, while we're on the subject of St George, I think it's. I've noted there's a lot of great, there's a great movement towards reclaiming St George's Day, if you like, for the sensible people in the country rather than the far right nicking it. So I think it's important to recognise that. I'm not overly patriotic myself, but you know, it's important that we recognise these things.
You've just come back from the US.
Yes.
Did you go to get more material?
I actually went for, my wife's from New England, so I went over there for a much needed, rare chill out. But of course, while I'm over there, I did get to play with some of the local musicians and stuff. Funnily enough, a lot of traditional music from over here has been kept alive in the States, as we all know, from Cecil Sharp's ventures and stuff. It's perfect timing for me because I'm currently scraping a bunch of material together for another record, and so you know, I have a day job as well as playing music, and time is a very precious commodity, as I'm sure it is for us all. And so to go away and just have a week, 10 days, you know, twiddling with my guitar and playing with other musicians in between bits of chilling out was a great thing. So yeah, it's proved very valuable.
And have you found any particular places that are really good for like getting away from it all and like helping get material down and stuff?
Anywhere away from the general run of the mill, really. But I do love it in the northeast coast of states, particularly this time of year. I just love going there. It's just a great place. And Italy's another favourite place of mine. There's something else there that I'd love to really get into at some time. There's a great wealth of music in Italy that's often not given much credit. I'd be very interested to go and do some work over there at some point. So, who knows? We'll see.
Going back to the UK, you were born up in Yorkshire.
Yes.
Were you exposed to the folk scene up there?
As a young man, when I was I wasn't a teenager. It was about the time. It was the tail end of punk, and there's talked about this in a lot of my other interviews and correspondence. Punk was a great thing for me because for our generation it made us realise that you don't really have to be a trained musician. Anybody can just get up and perform. It might not be I don't consider myself a particularly good musician, but I do love performing. And so if you like, punk inspired me to go and root out some of the local folk clubs, which is what got me started, and then I joined bands. And when it comes to folk, I don't know if I have the credentials, and I don't know if one needs to have the credentials. I mean, I've always assumed that folk is there as a national asset, if you like, and you can dip in or you can become an absolute obsessed person and really, that's all you do. I think everything's fine, personally. I keep quoting Martin Carthy, but he said the worst thing you can do to a traditional song is not play it. And I completely agree with that.
Adieu to old England, adieu. And adieu to some hundreds of pounds. If the world had been ended when I had been young, my sorrows I'd never have known. Once I could drink a good drink, the very best brandy and rum. But now I am glad of the cup of spring water that flows from town to town. Once I could eat a good bread that was made of good wheat. But now I am glad of the moldy old crust, and glad that I've got it to eat. Yes, I am.
And Fever Rebuke, quite interesting. It's from John Hersey's book.
It is. Yeah.
Why did you choose that?
A number of reasons. Have you read the book? The chapters. There's a chapter in it. It's about Hiroshima or Hiroshima, depending how you care to pronounce it. There's a whole chapter in there dedicated to the site of the blast a week or so afterwards, where all these little green shoots started to appear, which were herbs that had been spurred on by the radioactivity. It's very encouraging that nature kind of survives despite all the things we try and chuck at it. So I was moved by that. Kind of had a phoenix quality. For me personally, because I've been playing for a long time, and I had actually had a bit of a 2 or 3 year break from really doing gigs or anything. So I felt like a bit of a phoenix, if you like. So yeah, it's a rejuvenating vibe to it, and also they are all herbs, parsley, sage, rosemary, thyme, panic grass, few. It kind of had a continuity.
Some of the songs are quite traditional, but your arrangements are less so.
Nothing like, yeah. That's intentional. I think I couldn't really get away with being a traditional folk musician because I'm not really. I've spent most of my adult life playing all sorts of different music. The intention with the album was to take a bunch of traditional songs and record them in my own way. And I'm a great lover of what they call world music, which is just traditional music from around the world. So I wanted to make a bit of a mishmash if possible. I mean, that could even be pushed further, but I don't think it quite works if it's too contrived, if there's too much conscious effort to mix or fuse different cultures. I think that can be a bit naff, but when it happens naturally, I think it's great.
And so are there any particular elements on the album which you can attribute to like certain cultures or countries?
There's the obvious West Indies stroke Jamaican connection because of Adrian, Skip, having worked with reggae bands and dub bands for all these years, and I also love that kind of music. So yeah, there's, I suppose, a bit of Asia, a bit of West Indies, and little twangs of Americana in there. Another thing I tried to do was a slight medieval. It's tainted slightly with medieval melodies here and there, which was a conscious thing. So, just to say as well, actually, I do really respect the real traditionalists. I think it's important that there are people out there pushing that, you know. But I also think it's very important for evolution. In fact, you can't stop it. Things are going to evolve, whether you like it or not.
We're here at the 12 Bar today.
Mm-hmm.
What memories does this venue hold for you?
Oh gosh, it's steeped in memories. About 15 years ago I used to run my own night here, the singer-songwriters evening, every Sunday night, and I'd start the night off with open mic for an hour or two, and then I'd have 2 or 3 acts that were on, and then every week without fail at the end of the night I would get up and a bunch of regulars would get up, and it was just a big jam, doing anything from Beatles songs to whatever, and I'd often stumble out of here at 2 or 3 in the morning completely not sober. So yeah, fantastic. It's a great venue. To anybody that doesn't know it, it was an old forge built in, was that 1635? So they used to shoe the horses, or shod the horses, however you say it. And I believe underneath where we are now, there's a secret tunnel that people always used to talk about that you can bring. It comes out in the church across the road. So that was obviously something to do with the shenanigans that were going on many years ago. It's a very spooky place once it gets to about 1 in the morning. And a lot of the regulars used to say it's haunted, but of course that's piffle. Piffle!
You played in Anùna about 15 years ago.
1996, 97, yeah.
With John, who's performing with you tonight.
Yeah, John McGlynn.
How did that all come about?
Again, just coming about, I mean, just by chance really, just playing music for many years. I mean, here at the 12 Bar I used to run my night, and he said, hey, do you fancy coming over to Dublin? And so I popped over and ended up singing with him for a brief spell. We actually did the Later with Jules Holland show, I remember, a Christmas song. But, we're considering doing an album together which will be a mixture of Anglo-Irish tunes, probably. Don't tell anyone.
Once I could ride on the carriage with servants to drive me along, but now I'm in prison so strong, not knowing which way I can turn.